Well, welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. You know, I always say today. Well, we got him on the show, y'all. I tell you, we had to put out an APB, had to have somebody go stand by the house, watch the car. We had to put a track on and get him on the show, y'all. He helped me welcome my guest today, Aaron Draper. Hey, Aaron.
Good evening. Good evening. Good to be. Happy to be in the building.
Welcome to the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, glad to have you, man.
It's an honor. Appreciate the call. You know.
Let's go way back. You're from Philly?
Philadelphia, North Philadelphia. Yes, sir.
Philly. I think all the musicians either come out of Dayton or Philly for some reason.
Yes, sir. We have some definitely have some good musicians there, man, and up and coming. You know, it's a great city.
We still got that buffering. I'll let you see it when we are finished, but we still have a little bit of that just to mention it to you. I was reading where you began playing in the church, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, I'm playing in church. I started playing in church around. I kind of started drums at 6. And then got a little bit more serious around 9 years old. And then my teenage years is when I started like really playing a lot more drums. I mean, and percussion was there too, but drums were more of the attention of everything, you know.
Aaron, you remember when you got your first drum kit?
Yes. My grandfather gave me my first. It was a no-name jazz kit too. Like it had the symbol coming out the kick drum, red. I had to been maybe about 5 or 6, 7. And it's unfortunate I didn't know about you change drum heads and all that stuff. So I beat the setup to oblivion. And when it got beat up, I eventually threw it in the trash. So, but like I said, it was a no-name drum set. So like 6, you know. Like around 6, 7, I had a little drum set, little red drum set. I remember that set.
Aaron, take me to high school. Can you help me say this? Gretz High School, is that right? What was the scene like there?
Oh man, Simon Gretz. I went to high school in '97. I had just joined the church called Fort Memorial Tabernacle at the time. And the pastor was Bishop Andrew James Ford Jr. The second, and started going. I was in high school around that time, so around then I was like, you know, into gospel a lot. And back then the choir at that time in '97 they had a choir back then. They were doing a lot of like Kurt Franklin, like early Kurt Franklin. I want to say the album with, oh Lord, what album was that? That would be the album with Love and all that on it. Oh God, what album was that? Kurt Franklin and God's Property. So, you know, we was doing a bunch of that stuff. Also, I had just met some new friends, Troy Crafted and one of my good brothers, Kurt Chambers. And, you know, they was introducing me. We was all just young, up and coming. Troy was going to Fort Memorial. My boy Kurt had he wasn't a member, but he was going there. He was in Church of the Living God, which is the church that's all guitars and all that. So, you know, I was getting introduced to different kind of churches and settings. So around there, you know, high school was great because, you know, we was the guys, you know, we was, you know, playing, you know. But we didn't have a jazz band then. It was just choir. So our band was just playing for the choir. And, you know, we would bring whatever we was doing to church to the choir, you know. So that was like 97. That was my first year of high school, which consequently I actually failed because I had a girlfriend at the time who was in like 10th grade or at the time. And I missed class every day. So it was go see her and then go play music with the choirs. And, you know, it didn't work out. That year it was wild. It was a good year, but a bad year.
That's another whole show, Aaron.
Another show. Yeah, man.
I wanted to ask you about the group Jazzy Fat Nasty.
Jazzy Fantasties is like my very, very first start. And I probably wouldn't even be where I'm at now without even playing with them, because they gave me that exposure to artists and different things that, that I was doing.
Let's talk about some of your early credits, not these, well, these are superstars, but not the guys of most recent, which we'll get to in a second here. And I do have a section where I want to talk about Questlove here. But let's talk about some of your early credits. What was it like working with Big Daddy Kane?
Oh man, that was fun. That was another thing with the Roots. That was at that time. The Roots was when they were doing all their hip hop show. Do a lot of hip hop shows at House of Blues and all that. So they would bring me. I would go along just to be around. Like, it's funny, Rich would have me around, and then sometimes, when the Roots would get to Amir would get to the drum solo, me and a guy named Frankie Knuckles would go around the set with them and play. They would have different artists there. Back then I had hair that was out the hair. So I was deemed Baby Quest back then. It was a good time, man. I mean, and then of course, Big Daddy Kane, that's my 80s hip hop. I was born in 82, so that's the hip hop of my era. So it was amazing. It was a great thing.
I'm a downtown shooter who got the crown rule is back. You can't grow into the shape of a map. Look how I do it, so I'm taking you back. It's how you rise down to the foundation. How sacred is that? I'm from the number.
How did you make the transition, and why, from the trap set or trap kit to percussions?
Because all of my friends are like phenomenal drummers. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I want to do something let me play something that everybody, not that they don't, because there are a lot of great, phenomenal percussionists out there that I feel like are even better than me. But I wanted to do something other than drums. You had, at the time when I was coming up, you had Spanky, George McCurdy, Darryl Robinson's, Boots Green, Eric Tribbett. It was a bunch of drummers, especially in Philly. So I was like, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try percussion. I started playing percussion around, I'm gonna say 2001, 2002, around the time that I started playing for the Jazzies. And it just grew, it stuck with me. Like I said, I could always play, but I started getting to it more and more, practicing slaps, open tone slaps, and, one codes and all of just different things I could do. And then of course the musical knowledge of all the music I've listened to in my lifetime of percussion and drums, and those percussionists changed my life, like listening to all that kind of stuff. And then your Marvin Gaye, Isaac Hayes, Curtis Mayfield, that stuff is stuck with me. You know what I mean? Although I didn't get to play it, it's always in my head. So when I'm thinking a lot of stuff, when I hear something that sounds familiar, I'm like, oh, I can apply this or something esque to the song, even, especially if songs doesn't have percussion. I go, well, let me try this. This might fit in, this might fit in there,
Let me throw another one at you before I get to your credits, and then we'll talk a little drum talk here.
Yeah.
Jill Scott.
Oh man, that's my North Philly sis, my girl. I love her to life. Man, that happened in 2005. 2005, my great friend, brother, who I do production with, and I do a lot of gigs with, Adam Blackstone, who just did the Oscars actually and the Grammys with Nas. He called me and my brother, Darryl Robinson. It's like, man, y'all ready? And we're like, yeah, let's go do it.
You just mentioned Adele. Can you get a bigger gig than that, or what, huh?
I don't know, man. If it happens, it happens. I don't know. I know, of course, she's one of the biggest artists right now. It's a great gig. It's a wonderful, wonderful gig. Different gig for me as far as like coming from like a John or a Rihanna, it's more of a straight pop music. So more of about a book. And that's where the discipline comes in, because there is no chops, no expressing, or there's none of that. It's more just, and it's a lot of musicians who can't do that, patience is what when I first started playing for her in 2015, after leaving Rihanna, it showed me a lot of patience, because I had just came from all it was dancers and this and that, and then I went to whatever. So it gave me more patience in my playing, which I'm grateful for too, because it's another level of evolving to me.
You ever get hung up hearing her voice coming out of your monitor, just that beautiful voice she has? You ever get hung up?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm often like, wow, I'm sitting here, backing Adele, from Hello to What Under the Bridge to all those songs, man. She sounds incredible every night, every time. It's been an honor to even get the call back to go out with her. Oh, well, we're doing a Vegas residency, so to do this residency, it's gonna be dope.
Let's talk a little drum talk.
Really?
Let's talk a little drums here. As a percussion player, what is your approach to the drums?
Man, as a percussion player, my approach to the drums is, let's what can we do together, and what spaces can I fill that's going to make this experience of what we're playing together just sound like I don't know who's playing what, because we're so locked in as a unit, as a one sound. And that's my approach with any drummers or any gig I play. It's about this, and not overplaying each other and stepping each other's toes, or because it can sound like that. And I always like to sound, I'm talking about like locked and loaded, us locked in to where they're like, man, y'all sounded so great, I couldn't even tell who was playing what. And the energy was, because the energy was great, the whatever y'all was playing, how y'all compliment each other, from all is a big thing to me. You know what I mean? And being a drummer, I think it helped me a lot to understand, my place with drums, playing with another drummer, So respect. You gotta have a respect for each other,
Aaron, how many, without going into the endorsements, I'm gonna get to that next. How many instruments you think you have back there? Couple of hundred, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably a good 30. I use 3 congas. I mean, this depends on what gig it is. 3 congas, 2 bongos, timbales, a floor tom, sometimes a gong drum, an electric tom, cymbal. It might be more than that. Cymbals, 4 or 5 cymbals. You're talking about cowbells, blocks, electronic pads, electronic kick on the floor. Like, and I use it all according to songs. I call it my workstation, my spaceship, basically.
Yeah, spaceship, the mothership. Aaron, you ever have all that stuff? One question is, of course you're playing a record, but how do you know which one for when? And you ever pick it up late because it's so much, or you ever put it down somewhere where it shouldn't be? You ever get turned around back there?
Have I ever got turned around like that? Probably in the beginning, but no. Or maybe had like a tambourine that was in my way, and I'm like, I forgot I left it there because I'm so much in the moment. I forgot to pick it up, and I hit it, and the tamale of the floor time and the tam is there, and I'm like, oh, it's so much going on, especially during shows. Like, people don't know, like, the energy of the people, screaming, and you in the energy, and you in the moment. It's your mind. There's so much going on. You're like, let me remember this. I won't forget this. Oh, in the song I'll play this. It's a lot. I'm playing this 16, or I start off with a chime, or I need to do colors here because that's what they like. The artist, it's so much going on in your mind. So you're bound to, like, either forget something, depends.
Endorsements. Tell me about the endorsements. Who you playing, cymbals, sticks, or whatever you're doing.
With Pearl, I've been with Pearl Percussion since 2008. Remo, Zildjian, ProMark at the moment. I'm using shy baffles. They're like the thin baffles, but you can they're basically invisible on stage, but they're like great for covering up the sound, bleeding all that in. Zildjian cymbals. Roland. I'm endorsed with Roland. I've been with them for the last 3-4 years now. What else? Rhythm Tech. It used to be Rhythm Tech. But those are like my main ones that I'm using at the moment. Also SE Electronics for microphones, and Apogee for interfaces and microphones, which I'm actually on now, Apogee, mic. So if it sounds incredible, it's because I'm using this Apogee Hype mic.
Plug them, man. Plug them.
So those are my endorsements currently at the moment.
Aaron, we do a thing on the show we call Word of Advice, where I ask the guests if they will leave a parting word for the up-and-coming drummers, the guys who are even at the next level but are trying to get traction in the game. Would you leave them a word of advice, please?
Man, word of advice I can always say for anybody. People want to be able to work with you. Oftentimes some people can be jerks, and just whatever. I feel like I'm always pleasant to work with, which is one reason why I get the call back. I have give love, I respect everyone, and be a stickler about your music. Learn the music. It's better. It's often better to go in and prepare, especially for whatever kind of gig, knowing the music you study, and sticking it to where they're like, oh man, he listened to the music. Oftentimes that'll get you the gig. It's great to have all the chops and but half the time just having this will get you the gig, because you don't, 9 times out of 10 they don't need all that. Especially if it's depending on what gig it is. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying don't have the chops, but have the chops, but also have a fill in the pocket that'll get you paid.
Before I get to the last question, what you got coming up? Anything on the burner?
Right now, it's funny. I'm doing I'm doing in between stuff right now. I've been doing some Cool J gigs. I just did the pre-record, the memorial for the Oscars, which was to all of the actors that's passed on, legend actors that's passed on. I played on that section. I have a gospel recording coming up with this church called Upper Room Apostolic. I do still play at church. It'll never go away. It keeps me on my toes, which I love. I've been getting a lot of calls for. I just played on Kiera Sher's new album that's coming out. I'm not sure when, but that'll be coming out with my brother Jay Drew, and also I'll be doing Karen Clark's album at some point. And my band, the Origin Band, we're working on our a little 5-song EP where I'm actually singing, and I sing too. That's my other instrument that a lot of people don't know. Singing is like my third love. I ain't, I got to work on it. You don't do something all the time. You get rusty and whatever. But that's that's another thing I have coming up, the Origin Band, and then this Adele residency starting hopefully sometime in July. And that's what I have coming up right now at the moment. And, the usual stuff I'm always doing, which is BT Awards and Soul Train. I do those probably almost every year. So that's what I have in the works for that right now,
Wow. Fantastic. Aaron, would you ever do a book?
Man, I would. That would be a long day. It'd be a long process. It's a lot. Of course, to sit and remember and recall through all the years. So I would definitely do a book, just talking about my accomplishments and maybe even just how helping people to believe in themselves. So if you have a dream, to just accomplish it. You're not stuck to just being in one place, go out there and take a risk. I took a risk. You know, and here I am 25 years later playing with some of the biggest artists in my life and have done a lot of things, you know, played on your Tonight shows. I played on the late night shows. I've done a lot of things, man. It's been like I said, I'm always grateful. It's a blessing to even think about a lot of the stuff I did because I'm probably the first in my family. My mother and father, they are musicians, but to travel the world and do all that, I've done it, you know.
Wow. I want to slip that in because that's something I know somebody, I'm off subject now, but I want to slip that in the interview because I know that somebody's going to want to say, hey, can we get a book or can we get a documentary with a journey like this? You know, and then you might want to catalog it that it's told by you and not someone else years from now.
Absolutely.
You know, that get it all twisted and backwards and say, I played on that stuff.
Yeah.
That was Cheron, he played on it. You know, I want to ask you, before I let you go, I got two other questions, but this more business. Yeah. Do you ever miss the old drum set? You ever sit down behind the old drum set?
Yeah. You said, do I ever sit behind it?
Yeah, you ever miss it?
Yeah, I do. Actually, you know, it's funny. Last Sunday, I played at the church. I played drums at the church. I'll send you the video clip, but actually, it's a little clip. But I have fun, and I played. And I'm not saying I don't play. I actually played on a couple of records. This band called Chromeo. They produced this guy named Ian Isaiah. I've played on like 4 of his records already. So he has a new song coming out soon in the spring. I'll make sure I send it to you. I still play drums. Like in there, it's you know, it doesn't leave you. It's like riding a bike; you never forget. You know what I mean?
In closing, Aaron, I had a question I wanted to pass by you. Aaron, what do you want your legacy to be? To be said, to be told?
My legacy, man, I want it to be said and told that he had love for everyone. I helped everyone. I was an example and a light to other up-and-coming musicians or just anybody. You know, my music touched and blessed people, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. And I inspire somebody. I'm always glad to inspire people to do what they do, you know, and I mean, that's really what my legacy is, what I want it to be, you know, all good things, you know, all great things to be said, you know. Like I said, I'm a help, and I did everything I can for people. I don't hate on people, so, you know, I'm always there to be a helping hand or whatever advice I can to anybody, and that's what I definitely want to be said about me. It's my legacy, you know. And I play great music, you know. Cool.
I think somewhere along the line somebody gonna say, and he did it all.
Man, it's funny.
It all.
All the time, man. It's been like I said, my career has been a blessing, man. I've got to play with a lot of great musicians. Calvin Rogers, I saw you had Calvin on here. Like I said, Brian Moore, John Roberts, Chris Johnson, Michael Reed, Darryl Robinson, Boots, Spank. One of my friends, John Lawson. Like, there's so many phenomenal drummers I've had the honor of playing for. So, and just other musicians. I mean, Pino Palladino, James Poison. I mean, if I can name names, we'd be here all day. I've played with a lot of the greats, and it's been an honor to me because it's a lot of what I wanted to do when I was coming up, when I heard about those artists. So, and there's still more I want to play for. So hopefully that'll be the next thing you'll be hearing. I got to go on tour with this person, you know. So, yeah, man, it's a blessing, man. I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that you had me on here to talk and tell my little story, you know.
It's not little by far. Let me say thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Hey, would you help us wave goodbye to all the fans?
215 Philly, we in the building.
Again, thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it.